After Virginia Tonkin died, her parents kept her corpse in their home for nearly a year. The Tonkin family lived in this New York mansion when their 11-year-old died of appendicitis. They kept her in a glass viewing coffin at home while waiting for the construction of the family mausoleum in Riverside Cemetery. Par for the time period, they held her viewing in the library and then returned the body to her bedroom. They held nightly vigils until the authorities pushed them to properly entomb Virginia. The story had become a fame which brought a new grief to the family, a stalker. The prowler would send drawings of their youngest, Rosamond, in the interior of their home with threats of kidnapping and death, but never said how to pay the ransom he desired. After the murder of a local girl, the Tonkins were pressured to keep Rosamond in glass confinement, similar to Virginia's coffin. The stalking continued for several years, with the artist's identity never revealed.
Normal-looking photos that have a disturbing backstory, Part 8. This shadow is permanently etched on the steps of Hiroshima following the nuclear explosion that killed over 70,000 people. The boy in this photo is Estevan Reiner. The Nazis who took his photo made him put this uniform on, smile for the picture, and knew exactly what his fate would be. 2 weeks later, he was killed in a gas chamber. A similar story for this girl whose photo was just taken by a Nazi photographer after Germany had just invaded Poland. You can tell by her smile that she had no idea what was to come. This photo shows 3 young girls smiling together for a selfie. On the right hand side of the photo, you can see a light which is the headlight of a train which hits them moments later. While this photo appears to be just an ordinary large class photo, the 2 boys at the top left are responsible for the Columbine High School shooting, which at the time was the worst high school shooting in American history and killed 12 students and 1 teacher.
Pictures taken right before death. First, we have this 18-year-old girl who wanted to get the most extreme selfie, so she climbed up a bridge which was about 30 feet high. And then she fell off, but it wasn't the fall that killed her. It was on her way down, she grabbed some electrical wires and they electrocuted her. This picture was actually taken by a guy who was just testing out the new camera that he got, and it shows this 14-year-old boy literally flying out of a plane. It turns out he was hidden in the plane wheels, and during takeoff, he somehow fell out and it was caught on camera. This looks like your typical best friend picture before a night out, right? Except the night would end in disaster, with one of them using the belt she was wearing to strangle the other, and she then blamed it on being intoxicated and said she couldn't remember anything of the night anyways.
This is why you always say yes to tandoori chicken. In 2012, a high school tutor and her student stayed up so late one night studying that by the time they were done, the buses had stopped running. Without another way home, the student asked if he could stay the night at her place. Reluctantly, she agreed. When they got back to the apartment, she fell asleep on her bed and he fell asleep on a blanket next to her bed on the ground. A few hours later, she wakes up to the boy standing awkwardly in the middle of the room with a very strange look on his face. She asks him, "What's wrong?" He looks at her and says, "I'm really hungry. Let's go get some tandoori chicken." Confused, she says, "It's 2 a.m. Just get a snack in the cupboard." And he grabs her by the arm and he says, "No, we are getting tandoori chicken right now." And he yanks her from the bed. Feeling totally caught off guard by this whole situation, she goes into the hall with the boy, and as soon as the door shuts behind them, she can tell that he is terrified. He looks at her and just says, "I'm not actually hungry. When I woke up, there was someone under your bed."
This is a teddy bear that is so dangerous it has to be locked up. This bear is located in England in Bolsover Castle, which was originally built in the 12th century. And one of the strangest things about this place is that inside of it, there was a bear named Mr. Ted that is said to be extremely cursed and haunted by something evil. Now, staff are so afraid of him, which is why he is locked in a glass case surrounded by chains, which is so weird to see because you'd never think someone would be like threatened by a teddy bear. Apparently, this bear is known to cause headaches and nausea to anyone that is standing near it. There are also numerous occasions where people have heard this bear growling at them. There was this one time a news crew was allowed to go to the castle to see this bear, and at 3 a.m. during the witching hour, all the cameras turned off, and the producer got so sick that he was taken to the hospital. So this bear does not play around.
This film is said to be one of the scariest films ever made. So scary, in fact, it can actually kill people. Netflix released a new film called Veronica, and it is said to be one of the scariest films to ever be made. This film is reportedly so terrifying that people are turning it off before it even finishes. Netflix themselves have even said that 1 out of 100 people watching this could actually watch the full film. Even experts have suggested that the film can actually kill people who have weak hearts. So watch this at your own risk.
The picture behind me might look like a normal photo, but it's actually one of the most sinister, real-life haunted photos in history. Taken by a professional photographer in 1972 as guests arrived for a wedding, everything in this picture looks happy and normal. But if you take a closer look at the man standing in black, you'll see something odd. You can actually see somebody in white crouching behind the man. All 4 of the people in the picture said that there was no one behind them when it was taken. The photographer said the same thing, and that it would be impossible for someone to crouch behind them without him seeing them. This is a better picture where you can actually see the guy's legs, and then in the top you can see his eyes. The picture was even examined by police photographers, and they confirmed that it was genuine.
You guys wanted more? So here we go. The creepy real story of Snow White. And just be warned, it's a little disturbing. This is the real Snow White, also known as Margaret von Waldeck. She was a 16th century Bavarian woman. Her brother owned a copper mine and used small children as labor. All of these children became extremely physically deformed because of the labor that mining requires. They were referred to as dwarves. The poison apple in Snow White is also rooted in history. A rich old man who frequented the mines would offer poisoned fruits to kids he believed stole from him. But it gets worse. Margaret's stepmother hated her and sent her away to Brussels to get married to the prince, hoping that it would fail. Instead, they fell in love. Sadly, this was not a happily ever after for Margaret. The prince's father, the King of Spain, opposed the romance. So he hired people in his Spanish guard to kill her. She was poisoned and died. Think about that next time you watch Snow White. Like for more.
Yes, the picture at the end is real. In 1876, a woman from a very prominent family in Paris goes missing. After years go by and no one has a clue what happened to this woman, friends and family ultimately mourn her death and move on. 25 years later, and this anonymous letter shows up on the Attorney General's desk, claiming that the missing woman's family had a secret. Intrigued by the letter, the police go to the family's home, show it to them, and ask to search the property, to which they say, go for it. They search, they don't find anything, but on the way out, they notice something very peculiar. At the end of some stairs was a door that was padlocked shut. When the family refused to open it, the police break it down and make a horrifying discovery. Cowering on a rotten straw mattress in a pitch black room was the missing woman, now 50 years old and extremely malnourished. Her mother had imprisoned her there after they had fought over her boyfriend, and she had not seen sunlight or another human being in 25 years.
Here is why you should never visit the dark web. Clay was a boy who was severely depressed because he was being bullied in school every single day. He would frequently do bad on exams and even the teachers would make fun of him. One day, Clay had his final exam for math, but he ended up failing the entire exam. At this point, even his parents were very disappointed in him and told him he was a loser. So one day when Clay came back from school, he decided to open up his laptop and visit the dark web. He had heard about the dark web from a couple of friends who told him that it was a place that he probably shouldn't visit. But being super sad in real life, he decided that the dark web was the only way that he could get some happiness. So Clay spent hours that night browsing through his laptop on the dark web. But then something very scary happened to Clay. Just as he was scrolling through different websites, he saw a little pop-up message on the top right of his screen. And he immediately panicked because that little message told Clay to immediately get off the dark web or that he was gonna get killed. Follow for part 2.
This is why you should never deliver a letter in person. Once a woman was living in Berlin after World War II. Supplies were tight, money was short, and everyone was hungry. But one day the woman was walking through a crowd when she accidentally bumped into a blind man. They started to talk. The man eventually asked her for a favor, to deliver a letter for him to an address written on the envelope. She agreed. She was about to go deliver this letter when she turned around and saw the blind man running away without his cane. She felt suspicious of this behavior, so she went to the police. The police then decided to visit the address written on the envelope to see if they could find anything. Then they made a shocking discovery. They ended up arresting 3 butchers who had been harvesting human flesh and selling it to the starving people. Then they opened up the envelope to see what was written inside, and it only said one line: "This is the last one I'm sending you today."
This is why you should be careful who works on your children. This is dentist Harold Snyder, usually pulling out more teeth than needed. He's worked on countless children. He's even put kids in straitjackets watching them scream, not using any numbing medicine. He would even choke kids and tell them not to tell their mom.
He choked me.
Moms have even tried fighting him. More than 50 parents have complained. Charges were supposedly laid off because of his mental health. And he supposedly did all this because Medicaid was paying him for each teeth pulled. These TikTokers accidentally found a body. There's a popular app right now on TikTok called Randonautica that sends you to random locations in your area. Some people find random abandoned places. Some people even found random weird things in the forest. These group of teens were led to a suitcase. But the thing is, when they opened the suitcase, it was a dead body inside.
Wait, open it. It stinks, y'all.
When they opened the suitcase with a stick, it had a horrible stench, later calling the cops, who confirmed there was dead body parts inside.